7 o'clock.
Okay. Muted? Yeah, we're on.
Yeah, wait a minute, why is this, hold on.
Take your volume up. Okay.
Call the order, meeting workshop to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Kennedy.
President McCarthy.
Present.
Dr. Carpenter.
President.
Mr. Forbeck. President. Ms. Lalage.
Present.
Mr. Mountain.
Present.
Mute. Mr. Benson.
Present.
Mr. Suchovich.
Present.
Mayor Cooper.
Here.
I'm also present.
Okay, at this time we'll hear registered comments from the public. Council will hear comments on agenda items at this time. Please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and let's see how this works.
All right, so we're gonna start with Trish. Trish, bear with us because I'm not sure how this is gonna work as far as letting you talk, so.
Can you hear me?
So I can hear her. Let me hold on a second. Go ahead, Trish.
Hey, Trish, go ahead.
Okay, just checking. Let me know if anything crazy happens. Good evening, Council. It's Trish Rezek-Showalter, 440 North, and as I'm sure you all know, Chair of our Parks and Recreation Board. Hopefully you got an email forwarded. I'm not sure if Jerry had a chance to do that. If you did, okay, great, thank you. So if for those of you who do have a computer available, if you could pull up that email, because it will have some slides I'd like to take you through briefly. And in the email, you will also see an email that I forwarded from Jeff Pepper of Pickleball. So the first of two things that I just wanted to bring to your attention, the attention of everyone on council, is just the extensive upgrades planned for Riverbank Park. Is even after a brief meeting I had with Jeff on September 8th, myself and the entire Parks and Rec Board were totally unaware. And I'm sure Janet's going to touch on this as well later, but I just want to make sure that everyone on council has some thoughtful discussion on this, as well as all proposed park upgrades, particularly in light of the formulating comprehensive plan that we're working on for the town. The next item I wanted to touch on, the next final and slightly longer item, is the community garden project. Jerry, is it possible to unmute Raiden if he is on the call, Raiden Sarak?
Let's see here.
So for those of you who are able to view my slides, the title slide here I just added for those of you who maybe were a little bit confused in prior discussions, that this will be a project coming from Verona Parks and Recreation Board, specifically a newly created committee we have called the Seagreen Committee. If you have the slides, you can go ahead to slide number 2.
I didn't see this. Jerry, what email was she talking about?
I forwarded an email about, I don't know, an hour and a half ago, that has slides in it.
Oh, Verona vacant homes? That?
No,
Second slide.
You just have to click, Nancy. It's
donor
click-
update. Verona resurfacing project, day number 5.
Okay, I see a guy working on the courts. Is
Go
that-
all the way down.
There's a slideshow called Verona Garden 29 September 2020.
It's actually a link, Nancy. So don't look for like PowerPoint. Just click on the link. It'll take you to Google Slides.
I'm on a tablet, so I don't know if it's gonna work.
Okay, it's not super critical, so for in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving, but I'm happy to answer any questions either after or any time. So I'm sure you'll remember earlier this month, Laura and Rhea gave an overview about the benefits of having a community garden here in Verona. And as I mentioned, and he is hopefully now unmuted, Braden Sirac, Director of Community Projects with Grow Pittsburgh, is available here tonight at our council workshop to answer any follow-up questions that you may have thought of after our discussion at the meeting earlier this month. So I just want to pause right now to see if any members of council would like to direct any questions to Braden at this point.
Just want to make sure you can all hear me okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any questions going once, going twice? All right, I'm just going to keep moving, but certainly feel free to stop me if anything comes up. So the main thing that we are asking from council tonight is a vote to send a letter of support for Grow Pittsburgh's October 1st deadline to build a garden in 2021, which again will coincide with Verona's 150th anniversary, which is just a nice touch, icing on the cake. And a vote sometime soon on a space. So that doesn't have to be tonight, but the sooner the better, so we can start to plan either allocating borough park space for a garden or acquire a vacant lot for the purpose of a community garden. I did receive some follow-up questions, or we received some follow-up questions on long-term needs. So I did want to add, in the interest of transparency, that longer term, we will need help getting the word out. Water will be a cost that we will have to figure out how to pay for, either through fundraising, grants, or certainly borough support is welcome. We're also interested in doing rain barrels, which would help to offset that. If it is a vacant lot that is acquired, we'll have to talk about how liability insurance will be covered. And of course, after the initial 2-year period, the garden will need seedlings, of course, soil, and some replacement tools. Now, there is some funding available from Grow Pittsburgh longer term, but those will all be things that we will have to figure out. I did want to mention that the initial 2 years of support from Grow Pittsburgh does end up being about $25,000 to $30,000 of support putting in the garden. I also want to point out the support from the community that we have identified so far. Of course, being from a committee of Parks and Recreation, we have the full support of our board, as well as Werner Elementary School. They have stepped forward and mentioned interest in using this as a teaching garden, both doing math lessons as well as anything STEM related, nature related. So they very much are interested in being partners on an ongoing basis and helping to maintain the garden. We also have Verona's Garden Club, Verona's Community Group, and we have about 30 completed surveys to date where 100% of participants are in support of the garden, and about 82% selected that they would volunteer to help. In going through to investigate some of the vacant lot options, we have met numerous enthusiastic neighbors. I have not met one person who was against the garden yet. Also, in regards to having enough manpower, I wanted to point out that there are many different roles within the various levels of commitment. So myself, Ray, and Laura, or what you would consider the coordinating committee, we're trying to get this organized and going and off the ground. Once we have a garden, we will certainly want to identify a main site coordinator, perhaps more than one, as well as regular gardeners, maybe about as many as 10 would be ideal, that are really in the garden every day, every other day, as well as a host of occasional gardeners. So maybe 25 or 30 people that are coming in periodically, like at the end of a harvest, to help with a big harvesting or at the beginning of the season. Also, we are already getting positive press for Verona. We had some interest in the Trib in doing an article on this already. So that is pretty exciting. So according to Grow Pittsburgh's criteria for this program, there is a section of town that is ineligible due to income requirements set by, I believe it's Grow Pittsburgh. So essentially we,
Sorry, just to interrupt, it's set by Allegheny County Economic Development, which is our funder for this program.
got it. Thank you, Raiden, for clarifying. So essentially this limits between center and south from East Railroad Ave all the way up the hill to 4th. So Cribs, for example, would not be a prospect for the community garden. Next slide. So this is slide 5, if you are able to click along. This is the criteria that Grow Pittsburgh looks at when deciding whether or not a space is usable for a garden. So some of the main things that we're considering are, is there at least 6 hours of direct sunlight during the spring and summer? Are there weeds? Is there a lot of cement? As well as, is it level or not? Beyond that, they will do additional testing as mentioned here. And actually, we did get some results for Railroad Park already, just to make sure that the soil is good. But some general things are sort of what you might consider for your household garden. Next slide, slide 6. These are the possible sites that are borough owned. So Railroad Park was what we were initially thinking as it would be the cheapest option, being borough owned, and is the only borough owned spot that we are aware of that's really viable as a good garden spot, for the things mentioned in the last slide. The other known municipal owned lots are really not viable. They're very, very sloped, lots of weeds, and very shaded areas. But certainly if anyone knows of something I've missed, that we've missed, feel free to reach out to me. I worked with Marcia to get a better list of other options. She just sent this to us last week. This is a list of all vacant lots in Verona. And we have here highlighted the ones that are at least 3 years delinquent in taxes. So everything highlighted is technically eligible to be acquired by the borough as a lot for the garden. Of the sites that are highlighted in the previous slide, so I am on slide 8 now, we've sort of highlighted what we think are our top 3 candidates. If we are to pursue non-park space, so this would be through Allegheny County's Vacant Property Recovery Program. So again, this is for any lot that is 3 or more years delinquent in taxes. It will cost the borough some money to acquire. The costs of that I'm not totally clear, but I know that the borough is also maintaining a few of the vacant lots in town, so I did want to point out that we may actually save in the long run because we won't have to have our maintenance crew take care of this lot because this would be the responsibility of the garden group. Also, it does take 9 to 12 months, so that is where the urgency comes. If we do want to try to continue with the garden program and try to get it at least started next year, we would need to get our application in to acquire the vacant lot sooner than later. So again, these are the top 3 candidates we've identified so far, just based on sunniness, that they are level, and that there are no weeds, there's no cement as well. So the 3 candidates we had in mind, and thank you to Sylvia for pointing out this first one, 851 2nd Street, which is the top picture here on slide 8. The next one is Vogel's Lane. There's no house number, but it's the former Shiloh Baptist Church, and I've included the parcel numbers. And the 3rd candidate here is 246 West Railroad Avenue. So again, I just want to remind council that we don't have to decide on the location tonight, but if we do want to pursue a vacant lot, sooner than later is helpful. But we do need to know tonight whether or not this is something that the council is willing to support going forward. So I think that about wraps up what I wanted to cover. Raiden and I are available for any questions at this time.
Doesn't seem like we have any questions.
Okay, I hope that means everyone loves it, but like I said, feel free to reach out to me with any other questions, myself, Laura or Vea, and we can put you in touch with Raiden as well.
Wait, I have one question. Can Trish hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I know that in terms of the application, the location can be to be determined. Is there a deadline when you have to determine where the location would be?
I'm happy to answer that. So in order to be considered for a spring build, we would need to see a confirmation of location, I'd say by January, like end of January at the latest, to really get started with design and planning and infrastructure building for that space. Sometimes gardens may need more time, and then we would work on a fall build, which would mean securing a location by, say, May, so that over the summer the garden can be designed and built, so that at the end of August it can be planted for a fall planting.
Okay, great. Do you guys have a preference of these three parcels? Is there a ranking 1, 2, and 3 that you have?
I do like the first two because they are a little bit closer to the school. I'm envisioning the school children having to walk across the boulevard to get to the West Railroad site. And although the teacher said that really wouldn't be a problem, there would be escorts and whatnot. It just makes me personally a little nervous. But in terms of the core garden needs, I think they all are suitable. I also live closer to the one on 2nd Street. So that's just like a personal bias for Laura and myself. But yeah, I wouldn't say like we're set on any of the 3 vacant lot options.
And the ability to put out the initial money to purchase or do whatever needs to be done to make the lot borough owned. Is that money coming from the Garden Pittsburgh people?
No, that is the only hard requirement from the borough, is providing the land in which to put the garden. So as far as paying the back taxes and whatever that ends up to be to acquire the vacant lot, that's a discussion we would have, but that would primarily fall on the borough to actually pursue that.
So we don't know how much it would cost to acquire any one of these 3 locations.
Just to give a rough idea, the typical property taxes on some of our vacant lots in Verona are like $25 per year. So obviously you have to go far enough back and pay not just the borough, obviously, but there's like some county taxes you have to repay. So to get an idea, I reached out to Angela, who, as you know, is an agent, and she said that she estimated it would be very cheap, no more than like $1,000 or $2,000, which I know is still something, but I would love it to be considered as maybe something to mark the 150th, considering that we're trying to make it coincide with our anniversary.
I don't think we have to pay the back taxes.
Jerry,
think we-
I'm going to rely on your expertise. I'm really not sure.
I don't think we have to pay the back taxes because we're exempt. We can take it by eminent domain and it is for public use, but you have to pay. The owner of the property, which is somebody, would have to be compensated just compensation for that property. And there's also legal fees and like that. And we could end up, depending on who owns the property, if there are any errors, you could end up in legal battles where they're appealing the amount that we've deemed to be a just compensation. So I don't think that we have to come up with the taxes necessarily, but I don't think that it's necessarily only going to be a couple $1,000.
Yeah, I think the legal fees, I think I had asked Craig about this yesterday, some $4,000 fee for some legal thing that I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, there's other legal fees that we would have to do, and that would all, in order for it to be the cheapest way possible, it would have to be uncontested, where you found the heir that owned the property and you gave them what they deemed just compensation. And as long as they were okay with that, then we'd give them that and it'd be fine. But if they come back and say that they don't agree, they could technically appeal the decision and then end up taking us to court for more money and
So
back to-
Jerry, that's an awesome viewpoint. I wanted to point out though that maybe that makes the Shiloh Baptist Church one our best candidate because that was dissolved a long time ago. I think it was last sold in the 20s. The church is not there, but I can't imagine there'd be anyone from the church who would contest it. Like, do you agree?
Yeah, that's possible. You're probably right about that. I would have to say we'd need to discuss that with Craig when Craig's here. That's definitely his expertise. But being that the borough's tax exempt, I don't think we have to pay the taxes. I think it would be more of an eminent domain play, but I think that it would be more expensive than what we're thinking. Not saying that it's not something that we want to do. I'm just trying to set expectations correctly.
Jerry, there's a couple hands raised. I know it's not public comment, but Angela, who's an agent, maybe has some input specifically to this discussion.
I have a question too. Trish, thanks for the presentation. I'm assuming that any of these 3 lots, you would still need to get a water source or water hookup on the lot. And I'm guessing that since they were occupied by buildings previously, that there might be, I don't know what we normally do when there's a demo, how far back they demo, but I'm guessing that would be an added, maybe a minor cost, but an added cost to set up water, right? I mean, you would need it for the garden, correct?
Correct. I'll attempt to explain and Rita can correct me, but as I understand it, that may be more expensive for the support coming from Grow Pittsburgh. So that may just end up meaning that perhaps our fencing isn't as nice or we couldn't get as many raised beds as we wanted. But yes, you are correct. It could be a little bit more coming out of Grow Pittsburgh for that cost.
Yeah, that's something that we have typically paid for. Sometimes we've been able to get some in-kind support with heavy machinery if that's needed, or a plumber that works well with the borough. Sometimes that can help reduce the cost. But yeah, like you said, because it used to be residential, that makes it much more possible to actually tap a line. And then, from there, the cost is determined just from how far you have to go from that point to the garden itself.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
I mean, it sounds to me that, these properties could be viable, but we really have to do further investigation on the costs that's all associated with
And
that.
attorney fees.
And attorney's fees. So I think that is something I think we'd like to see from whatever property is proposed, a little bit more homework and discussion on those and bring that, and then we can make a decision on whether or not we could pursue purchasing. That's what I'm suggest.
So, like I said, Angela, who's a real estate agent, might shed some light on this topic if we could let her talk for a minute, Jerry.
That's not up to me. How do you want to do this? You want to do that?
Go ahead, let her speak, but we need to move on here.
Okay, hold on.
I think the other issue is that there's a deadline about this application, and I wonder if there's another application deadline that they could do.
And then also, if we do the application, are we held to keep going with this? If we decide down the road it's too expensive, are we liable now? That's a question.
Question I want to ask.
The other concern too, and I'm not saying I'm for or against this. I have no opinion on the matter. But if we don't end up having the volunteers in the future, what happens if the streets guys then have to start maintaining a community garden?
That's the other.
Because if we have to hire another streets crew guy to maintain a garden, that's going to be another expense for the borough. So just keep that in mind.
Brayden,
Angela-
what typically happens?
Go ahead, Trish.
Yeah, what I would say in that case, if it really is getting to the point where it's a problem in terms of maintenance, what we would advise is to, change the planting or change the site itself to be as low maintenance as possible. Like maybe planting a cover crop, something that needs a lot less maintenance than grass in the space, so that it can be kind of like equivalent of like mothballing a building, so that nothing gets worse in the meantime and that it looks tidy and is easier maintained than your average, needing to go out and mow something every week in the summertime. But yeah, I wouldn't expect borough staff to be actually like, planting and maintaining a garden. That's its highest capacity, and that would be for the crew of dedicated volunteers and people managing that space.
Yeah, I guess worst case is I wouldn't expect the borough guys to maintain it as a garden, but worst case it may be something similar to what it is now, where they have to go out occasionally and mow and weed or something. Also, I just wanted to add that if you do go ahead and vote tonight to move forward with this, and we end up deciding a vacant lot is too expensive, we do still have our initial proposed option of either Railroad Park or Riverbank Park.
And that was the other question I had, is this an either or? Is it a vacant or a park? You're saying we could possibly vote on it, then we'll make a decision as we gather the information.
The location can be to be determined.
Okay. What about
Angela, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. As far as the acquisition of the property through the Allegheny County Vacant Property Recovery Program, it's actually quite simple. And there's not all these attorneys involved. And Jerry's right, you do not pay the back taxes. What it is they will notify the owner, they will notify everybody that the property is being purchased. At that point, the owner can step up, but I highly doubt it if it's been sitting there and they haven't been paying taxes, that they probably don't even want the property, but they'll do all the work for you. You don't have to hire all these attorneys that you think you have to hire. You do have to have a closing company to close the property. But it's very inexpensive because I actually was the first one to buy a property in Verona, which is the property next to mine. It used to be Helen Collins' property. They tore the house down and I purchased the land. And I gave a $500 deposit with my application. You send it into the county. It does take about 9 months, but you send it into the county. They come out, they appraise the land, which they appraised the land next to me was appraised at $1,200. It's a normal size lot. And then it basically closes in 9 months. Your closing company does title search, title insurance, title search on the property. That way no liens can ever come back at you. And yours is, you buy it free and clear. And being that it's used as a community garden, you probably can get that tax exempt, so you're not even paying taxes on the lot, because if you use it for certain uses, you probably won't even have to pay the taxes on it. Even if you do have to pay the taxes on it, believe me, it's very, very minimal. Because like I said, I hardly pay, I pay taxes, but they're on a $1,200 lot, you're not paying much. But being that it's used for a community garden, then you're probably not even going to have to pay taxes. It's not as difficult as you think it is. And you're not going to have owners coming back at you after it's closed. It's yours free and clear. But the Allegheny County does everything that they're supposed to do as far as notifying everybody and advertising it and all that. But it does take about 9 months, but it is very, very inexpensive.
Do you purchase it at the appraised value then?
Yeah, they'll come out and appraise it. And like they appraised the lot next to me at $1,200. That's what it's appraised at. So they're not going to give you some crazy figure like $20,000 because it's not going to appraise for that. It's just a vacant lot. It's a normal size Verona vacant lot. It's probably 25 or 30 feet by 120. It's not there's only a single family home on that lot up on 2nd Street. So you're not going to be paying a lot of money for that lot. And even what they'll do is once you leave you give them the deposit, they'll appraise that lot. Say that lot came back at $10,000. You don't have to purchase it. If you don't like the price, if you don't agree with the price, then you don't have to purchase it. So you're not forced to buy it if you think it's too much, but they're not gonna appraise it very high. It's gonna be very minimal.
I was under the impression, Angela, that was for homeowners to purchase property adjacent to theirs. Is the borough?
They have first option. They do have first option, but if there's no homeowners interested in it, no adjoining homeowners or adjacent homeowners interested in the lot, then you most certainly can get it. But they would have the first choice. They would have the first rights to it. But if there's nobody that's interested in it, nobody's applied for it, then you can purchase it. But
I did
the
confirm with the county as well.
The adjoining homeowner does have first choice at that lot if they want to make it a side yard or something. But if there's nobody wants it, then yes, you can purchase it. But it just, like Trish said, it has to be at least 3 years delinquent in taxes. And every property that she looked up is at least 3 years delinquent. So they do qualify. It's a very simple process. It's not, you don't have to get attorneys involved in all that. You just have a closing company and they handle all the title searches and the title insurance on the property. And then of course you would have to carry insurance on the property once you get it. So if somebody would get hurt on it, but it's not that much either.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Raiden,
welcome.
have any of your gardens gone on a lot that was acquired through this program?
In Wilkins Township, there was actually a site that the borough has been de facto maintaining for many years. That was a tax delinquent property, and they decided to purchase that for the program and went through that process. And I'd be happy to also connect you with the township manager, Rebecca, on that as well, if any of you are interested.
Okay,
Thank you, Raiden.
thank you.
There's another person with their hand up. Relevant.
That's Patty Wetmore. She's had her hand up the whole time. I think she just has a comment.
Okay. And then
We can do that after registered comments.
If we're gonna make any kind of motion, should that be now or later during the regular meeting?
Doesn't,
Let's do it now so it doesn't get overlooked.
Well, hold on. All right, I guess they need us to do it today because the deadline is October 1st. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
So
Mark,
Okay.
I'd just like to say that I had a bunch of questions after the last meeting and after Laura and Trish and Rhea put together the photos that they sent out to council. So I appreciate them sharing that information. And I had a meeting with the three of them as well as Raiden, and I believe Janet and Sylvia were also there. So we were able to, I was able to go over a lot of the questions I had. I'm generally in support of this. I am in support of this with, the caveat that we need to find a location that's agreeable and make sure that we have that lined up before finalizing anything. And I understand that, if the committee seems to have the support to put this through, and Grow Pittsburgh has been welcoming of their application. So I would like to make a motion that council support the project for a community garden, pending a later determination of a site, and with the understanding that we may have to bump back the planting date or defer that to later time if we have trouble securing an agreeable property. So I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second that
There's a
motion.
motion on the floor by Mr. Matlin, second by Dr. Carpenter. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No noes. Motion passed. Okay, let's move on to Mr. Kramer.
thanks, Trish and Raiden.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, Raiden, I cut you off. Hold on.
I don't see Joseph Kramer on the list.
No.
He's not here in person.
Oh, no
Great,
worries. I just, I was also when my toddler screamed at the same time. So it's no worries. Thank you all very much for having me. And I hope that we get to work together. We'll be here when you're ready.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, hold on.
Okay, Mr. Kramer's not on. How about Laura Jacko?
Laura is on.
Can you lower hands, Jerry?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm unmuted.
You're good. You're good, Laura.
Okay, great. I will keep it brief. Well, just as a quick update, I emailed everybody, but for the record or what have you, Tree Vitalize did come through and do our spring planting this past week. So North Avenue and I think maybe one of the other streets in town got some trees, some street trees, which is great. And then 2 of the dead trees that were in the business district got replaced. One in front of the post office, which I think at one point was hit by a car. Yeah, so that's great. The fall planting has been pushed back. The fall 2020 planting has been pushed back to 2021 due to coronavirus, as everything. So that's pretty much where we are with those. Thanks so much, and I hope everybody enjoys the new trees. If you get a chance, drive through North Ave and you can see where the new ones are planted. It looks really nice. And then secondly, earlier in the year, Don Wharf, who is one of the 3 members of the Shade Tree Commission, had indicated to me that he was, just a little busy and interested in coming off of Shade Tree Commission at some point. And I asked him to please not yet because I just didn't have a replacement for him. But I had another person in the community come to me. Her name is Kimberly Roller, and she's on today on this call, and she is interested in joining up in his place. So I wanted to see what we need to do to formally get them switched. I think maybe Dawn has to write a letter or something, and Kim might have to write one. I just wanted to go through the formal process of getting that accomplished.
If I'm correct, Mr. Wharf has to write a letter resigning, and your other person has to write a letter requesting to come on the board.
Okay. And is that pretty much it? Do I just have Kim attend the next meeting so she can get officially put in, accepted, or what have you?
If she sends a letter in, we'll just address it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't think she needs to
She
necessarily
doesn't need
be
to come
there.
in.
We just have
Okay.
to, once we have the formal letter, they can vote to
We'll vote to
add her to
change
the
it.
board.
And then she would just be fulfilling the remainder of.
Dawn Wharf's term.
Correct.
Okay, and do we know how much is left on his term?
Not offhand.
Not at the top of my head, I do not.
It's okay. I'm sure if she likes it, she will continue on. But
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm happy to see that there's some people that are, some new people who are interested in getting involved in some of our initiatives. Kim's also on our garden club, recently joined, so I'm really happy to have her. And I know that we're always really excited when we get new people who are looking to be a part of the community. So I'm sure that you guys will be seeing a lot more of Kim. Jerry, if you want to unmute her, you can. She might want to say hi to you all since you're not familiar with her and you're probably more familiar with me.
Dave, did you have something to ask?
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe Jerry knows. If there's a tree missing over by Islands on the other side of the street.
But on the get-go side?
Yeah.
I'll find out.
A tree missing?
Yeah.
But those are gecko trees.
That's their property.
On the side. All right. I don't know if it was hit or, during construction up there or what.
When did you see that? Because the old dead tree would have come down, and then there was one replaced that was right by Get-Go that was a dead tree, but it was
Okay.
replaced this week.
On Center Avenue?
Yeah, I think it's on Center.
And it's replaced. And I just noticed there was nothing there. I was wondering what happened to it.
Yeah, if you still see that there's a spot, let me know. But I think that so there was a dead one that was outside of the Get-Go that I actually had to do some damage control on because apparently the Get-Go had moved it. And, the Tree Vitalize people were not happy because once the trees go in, they're supposed to stay where they are. And then it died as a result of that move. But luckily, we have a good relationship. Things were smoothed over, and I did eventually convince them to replace it. So that is no longer a dead tree. It is a living and happy tree now.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. It's a beautiful ginkgo. You should go check it out.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Kim.
We don't need to talk with Kim. We need to move on.
Okay, so that's the registered comments. Is there any other public comments? There's no hands up.
Okay. Reports and correspondence.
All right, let me change how this is working here. I'm going to mute the
You know, I couldn't turn my volume all the way.
All right. So I'm first. The meeting minutes for the September workshop were emailed to council members by Marcia earlier this month. We would need a motion to accept those minutes.
September workshop or September
Today's September regular meeting.
regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Provenza made a motion to accept the meetings from the regular meeting in September, second by Mr. Sutsovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
All right. The next thing on my list is there is a reverse subdivision. It says subdivision on the agenda. It's actually a consolidation down on Penn Street. The new owner is building a property down there on 3 vacant lots. So we need to have a hearing for the consolidation. We need to figure out when we're going to have that, and then it needs to be advertised.
Well, we'll probably have to get a hold of Craig to find out what's the best time for him, because he has to be present, right?
He does. Do you just want to do it before if we need time, do you want to do it?
Is there any prep involved?
No, but I think we need it to be advertised for a certain number of days. Do you want to do before the October meeting?
October 13th?
Yeah, like 6:30. I don't think anybody's going to say it's
Yeah,
not going to be long.
no.
That's fine. Let's set it. That
Well,
way.
you would just need to advertise that. You would need to get advertised pretty quickly.
I'll talk to Craig tomorrow, have it advertised.
If he can't get it done to advertise, then we'll do it at the workshop.
All right, so we would need to have a motion made to have a consolidation hearing on the Miller's lot on Penn Street on October 13th at 6:30.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Sutsovich made the motion for the consolidation hearing on the 13th of October. Mr. Forback seconded. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any no? No no's. Motion passed.
Okay, next thing on my list are the Royal Oak dumpsters next to the burner garage. They are, I haven't looked at it today. I don't know if they showed up. The only way we can contact them is through email. Marcia has emailed them 4 times to come empty those things, and they're still not emptied. There's garbage all over the place over there. It's always a hassle, and I think council should consider just having them.
I agree.
Do we get any money from them?
We do, I mean, not from them, we do through the 904 grant, but I don't think that amount is that substantial enough to deal with the mess that's over there.
Is there another company we can call in?
I think we should do the research and find out, but they don't come to clean it up.
I know it's been a mess for at
It's
least 2 weeks.
been a hassle for many years.
So I'm willing to do some research on whether we can get another bin in there. I hate to lose that money for 904. And I think it's always been an outlet for people like Printing Company and everybody else to take their material. And I agree, it has been a mess, and they should have wrote it, that should be policed more. Yes.
Okay, so
Has it always been a mess like that for a long time?
Yeah, they're usually more responsive when Marcia reaches out, but this time is particularly bad, but it's always an issue. They're always fighting for them to come empty them.
Shouldn't have to.
And then people end up leaving stuff next to it, which end up blowing all over the place, and we have garbage all over East Rutherford.
Do we want to wait 2 weeks till the October meeting, see if Mr. Forback can come up with something by then?
I don't think that's a bad idea.
At least they're still there, and,
Yeah, but what good is it if they're gonna keep piling, you know?
yeah, but if nothing's there, then people are used to bringing it, they're gonna throw it and drop it, maybe.
Yeah, that's what we have to stop.
Maybe we could get them to come and look at one more time, put that toward the 904, and then make the motion and vote on it.
Well, that's the case.
In the meantime,
Have to come get it.
he's going to try to get another company.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
so we'll act on it at the October meeting.
we'll put that in advance until then.
All right, the last thing is I had a meeting with Keystone Collections. They would like council to consider switching our delinquent borough tax with property tax. So right now, I have to do some research and figure out how much we're paying Burkhart, Weiss Burkhart. I believe that they get a commission. They make their money on fees. So from what Keystone's telling me, and I have to do the research to figure out if what they're saying is actually true. Weiss Burkhart is making money from us. They're getting a commission on what they collect. They also charge a fee to the resident, and they make that. Keystone would do it for just the fee to the resident. The nice thing as far as my side of it and trying to monitor all these collections is Keystone has a much better system for me to see who's delinquent, pull reports, figure out the amount of money that we're supposed to get and what it all is and all that. They have a key track system. I can log in and I can pull reports on everything. So that part of it would be nice. If it also can translates to a savings for the borough, I think that would be good too. Keystone collects our, as you all know, our property taxes, current property taxes. So it would just be a continuation. They would take over from that. So we don't have to make a move tonight. It wouldn't happen until the new year. But I wanted to put it in everybody's head to think about it. I'm going to do some research for the next meeting to see exactly what we're paying Weiss Burkhart and make sure that way we can actually compare apples to apples. So I wanted to put that on everybody's radar.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I don't have anything else.
Mr. Mayor.
A couple of things here. The Halloween parade, Kevin Ewing, he's the president of the chamber. Chamber will not be doing anything this year. Funds are very low because of the COVID-19. We did not collect any dues from anybody this year. Which brings up another thing I would like to have, I'm going to ask the board, Halloween on Halloween Day, the 30th. I believe it's the 30th. 31st.
Saturday. Yeah.
It's a Saturday from 6 to 8. Many communities throughout the county are going to have it.
You're saying we should have it?
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
For the morale of everybody.
Yeah. Well, and I think if somebody's concerned about opening their door to a bunch of strangers, they can just put the bowl outside.
Exactly.
You know, and with a sign or whatever, here's the candy.
Exactly. Don't participate, just shut the light off.
Right.
Or don't participate, but, you know, there's options.
Okay, and on other that I had down, Kevin Ewing from the chamber also told me that he spoke with Ray Rogers from the Oaklawn Chamber, and for the Christmas parade, they are going to have a Christmas parade November 21st at 4 o'clock. It's a Saturday, but Oakmont will not be having anything on their street. It'll just be a parade that goes from Verona to Oakmont, and Verona wants to have it, and that'll be it.
November 21st.
November 21st, yeah, it's a Saturday.
4 o'clock, you said that.
Yeah. So we're in agreement to go ahead along with the parade to continue on, but there won't be nothing on the street, just people come down, see the parade, go home.
Hey, it is what it is. It's a sign of the times right now.
We have to do something for the rail once again, being that it's close to Christmas. And the other thing is Allegheny River Boulevard and Center Avenue, the crosswalk, I talked to Matt, and he'll have a report at the next meeting on that. There are some adjustments that I guess we could do we have to do the adjustments. And I have notified the police chief that I want a car there mainly in the morning and the evening, between 6:30, 8 o'clock, because that's when people would catch the bus. And I personally see them going through the red lights. I told them I want a car there at their discretion, whether it's a half hour, but I want them to spend time at that red light on all shifts. So you should be seeing a police officer at that, and it's between 4 o'clock and 6 in the evening, 6:30.
I've seen them there.
Yeah.
To add to that, Matt and I were looking, there's a sign that we can get that says, right lane turn, yield to pedestrians, that he thinks that we can do without doing the whole traffic study PennDOT thing. The sign's not real expensive, but it's big, and we can put it on the sign that says right lane turn only. Right under it, we can put right lane turn lane yield to pedestrians. Whether the people are paying attention to it or not, it's at least something to try to get them, because that's the main problem, is people coming down the right lane, they're not paying attention to people in the street, they're just kind of swinging down Center Avenue. So maybe that'll.
Yeah, and like I said, Matt will have more on it at the next meeting. That's all I have at this time.
I'd like to add also, I think there was some discussion about freshening up the crosswalks in all of the intersections because they're all getting worn down. I don't know if, street crew, whenever they might have some time, they've done a great job with painting the curbs and putting in the lines. But our crosswalks are if you look at the crosswalks, half of them are missing.
Yeah, Matt and I are working on that too. We have to make sure that the big thing is that a lot of our crosswalks are not ADA compliant. We may have to start doing ramps if you start putting in more crosswalks, or.
I was just saying, paint them.
I understand what you're saying, but we have to make sure that
They're ADA
ramps are
compliant.
ADA compliant before we start painting more lines or freshening the paint. And I don't know off the top of my head, but do we do the crosswalks on the boulevard, or does the state have to come in and do? We don't paint lines on the boulevard, do we?
I'm pretty sure we do. For school, we painted South Avenue.
I'm pretty sure that we would be responsible for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Dave?
I'm pretty sure that we would be responsible for that. I could double check because I did a PennDOT had a.
Talking, but I can't hear them.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear my headphones. That's on. If I turn my whole volume, we're gonna have all that feedback. He's gonna check and see if it's our responsibility. He's pretty sure it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. Sorry, Dave.
No, thanks.
The question with the crosswalks I have is the crosswalk on the north side of Center Avenue, on the Blondie, where the wide road is. Do we even need to put one there? Why can't we have the people cross Center and then cross over down by Center Avenue?
Because there's a hill there. When we redid the intersection with the red lights, and when Larry was here, from Sound Engineer, that question was asked, and he says, being that there's a slope going up a hill, it's not safe for a handicap, wheelchair, and pedestrians crossing there. So if you're on Center Avenue side by the Napa, you have to cross over, then cross over again, then cross over. Legally, they want you to do that. They don't want you to cross straight across.
I think it'll be safer than pulling your kids with the stroller or something, taking your
That's why
time.
there's no handicap, ramp there.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
Yeah.
I have nothing at this time. We're gonna have to put
You're
Dave.
gonna have to do something there.
Okay. Hold on a second.
While you were figuring that out, I do have one thing that I did forget. Please lock your car doors. We've had some break-ins Thursday into Friday, and I believe into Saturday also. Not Thursday and Friday mornings, we've had break-ins. The police are aware of it. We're doing everything that we can to boost up patrols. So please lock your doors.
Very close to it. All right, I'm gonna use that.
Go ahead, Dave.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So as far as crosswalks, I actually just looked it up. I attended a webinar by PennDOT a couple months ago, and local municipalities are responsible at at local road intersections and at state road intersections, as well as mid-block crosswalks, but PennDOT study and approval will be required for state routes. So for ARB and Center, I believe that would be our responsibility to maintain and paint them, just so everyone's aware. So I can get with Matt as well and help, if coordinate, if talk about things we can do for the crosswalks, because I know that that's been a big concern. But anyway, getting on to the items that I had. The first thing is County Hauling received a violation notice from the County Health Department. It was basically a cease and desist letter because they were dumping recycling into a truck with trash and garbage on September 3rd. And that occurred in the alley between Center and Union. County Hauling has 30 days to appeal, after which that violation becomes final. We're still waiting to hear if and when the state DEP is going to rule or take action on that. Council's discussed this, or we haven't really discussed it, but council has been made aware of this, and we're basically going to wait and see what DEP does and what happens with the appeal, if anything, before we do any kind of follow-up action with them. But this was kind of brought to light. Allegheny County inspectors had found it because of a resident in the area that had brought it up with us and with them, and Mike Forbeck was able to relay it to the proper people. So I didn't want to use their name because I didn't get permission, but I do want to thank everyone that has been keeping an eye out for things like that and notifying us accordingly. The tree pruning spec, I put something together, a draft for that. I sent it to council last week for any comments, to review. And I put that together after meeting with Nancy and Craig to talk about the Shade Tree Commission ordinance and how it would apply. And Laura Jacko also helped out with, kind of using suggestions and a sample spec from Tree Pittsburgh. So council should all have received that, and I know I got a few comments back. Basically, we're looking at pruning some trees on West Railroad Avenue, down between Allegheny and Fairview, on Wildwood, where the trees are overhanging the road, and around the business district, mainly ARB, South, Center, and East Railroad, and a couple other areas where there's newer trees that were planted by volunteers in the past 5 to 10 years, but they're getting bigger, and some of them are getting into power lines or buildings, or they just need the maintenance. And I know that the tree volunteers in Verona aren't able to reach to the tops very safely. So that's why we're looking to put this out. So I don't know if anyone else on council has any comments on this, any further comments, or I know that we may want to discuss how much of West Railroad we want to do, since I think Nancy, you originally brought up that area that was due to trees or branches falling on cars and into the road.
Right.
I had a question on the West Railroad stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't that the railroad's property, Dave? Wasn't there a question that we're not supposed to touch nothing there?
Yeah.
That's a question. Go ahead.
Pat raised that question as well. And I'll get with Craig and confirm, but when we had our meeting with Craig, he didn't indicate any issue with that. We may need to reach out to them first, but I believe with the shade tree ordinance, you know, if someone's not maintaining a tree that is, you know, in the public right of way, then I think the borough has the right to either make that the property owner take care of it, or the borough can come in and do it on their own. The problem with the railroad is that we all know that they're immune to local rules and codes, and they kind of do what they want. So, I mean, we can ask them to do it, but just like Oakmont asked them to repair the wall going into Oakmont, and they refused. So if we want to, you know, and I'm open to consider other consideration or suggestions, but I think if they say no to it, doing it themselves, then we might just have to take care of it ourselves.
So I've talked to the railroad about them taking care of that stuff, and like you said, they basically said no, that they're not going to, and that if we expect them to, they're basically just going to cut everything down or poison everything and make it go away.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a problem with us doing it. They're okay with it. We have to let them know anytime we have a contractor on railroad property so they can shut the tracks down. But they've basically told me, you're free to do whatever you want. We're not doing anything. And if you're going to, specifically the conversation was the grass. When I talked to them, they basically said, if you expect us to take care of it, we're going to kill the grass. So there's no grass, and that's what's going to be left there. So we can do whatever we want, but I wouldn't expect much from the railroad.
I also wanted to add that I think that general rules like state, county, whatever, is that if the tree is encroaching, like the root of the tree is on someone's property, but the branches are on someone else's, that someone else's property owner can cut the tree to the line. So the branches we're talking about are clearly in Verona property because they're way beyond the railroad property, hanging over into the street.
So we're just gonna take the branches that are hanging over the street.
Yeah.
We're not going back to taking the whole tree.
That's not my envisioning of it. Maybe.
Dave?
More or less is.
What was that, Ray?
You're talking about taking the branches back, like maybe to the property line or whatever. You're not talking about taking the whole tree down.
No, this would
Okay.
just be pruning to maintain the tree so that it, you know, it doesn't have dead branches falling. It doesn't have, you know, if it gets too many branches or they grow too far, they're going to be dangling down over traffic and over the cars that park there.
We take them down that way, we hit them.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything big hits them.
Right. So it would be clearing the path of the roadway.
I'm just checking, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Crap ton of our money in to take all their trees down.
No.
It costs a lot of money to take trees down.
Sure does.
It's just pruning.
Okay, thank you.
So Dave, are you gonna put these specs out for bid then? Is that what's happening?
So my intent was to let council weigh in. I already got some comments from Laura and the Shade Tree Commission. I mean, I sent her an email today to follow up on a couple things. So I think it's all kind of minor stuff. Just you know, her concern and the Shade Tree Commission's concern and Tree Pittsburgh's concern was just making sure we hire you know, a certified arborist and someone that's going to do it right and properly so that the trees stay healthy. So you know, we were just kind of working out some of those details. But if council's okay with kind of the scope and the areas that we've talked about, then once I get the final spec together, I think Matt's taking a look at it as well. I'll work with Matt and Jerry to get it out to bid, and we'll see what it comes back. You know, I don't know exactly what the costs are going to be. Matt and I both feel like it shouldn't be beyond the threshold for getting 3 quotes. So it may be similar to the landscaping contract, but hopefully we could get something in place by the end of November so that they can start and do this in the dormant season, so that we're good to go for next spring. So if anyone has any other comments or questions, feel free to call or email or let me know. The next thing I had, just a quick update on the stop signs. I'd asked for input a while back, and I did get some good input from several different residents on areas, particular areas that really never had a stop sign and probably should have for safety reasons. And so I made a list. I drove through town and kind of evaluated them and put a list together for Matt to review. And he reminded me, and Craig also reminded me that, Craig mentioned we need a traffic study, and then we'd need an ordinance in order to implement this. Matt says that the traffic study really isn't all that much for these types of stop signs. But he did point out we can't use them for speed control, and they must be a valid safety issue. So we can't just put them up haphazardly. So I tried to whittle it down to the areas that really need them, because there's a few intersections that have no stop signs at all. And for someone who's not familiar with the area, that's obviously a safety issue. So I'll be working with Matt to try to get that together and sent to the ordinance committee for drafting an ordinance. And then the other thing I had here was I actually talked to the ordinance committee yesterday to let them know about a webinar I attended a couple weeks ago about using GIS and mapping for blighted properties. They had a really good example of Trentham Borough's website, which I shared with the ordinance committee. They've started out real simple. They just used Google Maps. It was free. It was simple, easy to put together a list of any demoed, vacant, blighted properties. And they talked about in the webinar the benefits of this. Hopefully it'll attract potential buyers, lets them know what's out there, might be available. It shows council, what's there visually, so we can plan better. It helps to avoid a piecemeal approach, which hinders development, and it can help with stormwater management if there's opportunities for green infrastructure. So I just wanted to share with council and share with the ordinance committee that that's something that could be something we could look at to do, and I'd be glad to help with. So that's all I have. Thanks.
I have a question, Dave, about the stop signs.
Yeah.
Are you opposed to adding the two that I talked about down in Lower Verona?
I sent those to Matt to let him take a look at. I'm going to leave it up to him. He knows better than me whether those would fall under, valid meeting a standard for a safety issue. I explained to him your concerns. I think the only issue might be that there's already one, it's basically two-way, and there's already one stop in one direction, and the other direction doesn't have a stop, so they would be assumed the right of way. So I'll see what he says, but I'm kind of deferring to his judgment for what he recommends we do or don't do.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe I'll get in touch with him. It's just weird that the main road is the road that has to stop, and the small road is the one that keeps going, that has to turn, one that has to turn. So I'll talk to him. Thanks.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Dr. Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy.
Can we hold on a second?
Okay.
They can hear me too.
All right, good.
Okay, but are we echoing over there?
Nope, I already started winding up.
All right. So, we had, I can hear an echo though.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. We had a, ordinance meeting yesterday. And, the main highlights from that meeting is, that we had Dave talking about the GIS program, and we're gonna look more into that. We have not received too much more in the way of comments about the pending ordinances for short-term rental and animal control. There's been a little bit of comment actually since yesterday that I've become aware of. So we'll see during the public comment today if there's anything else that needs to be adjusted on either one of those ordinances. The other thing that we discussed was, as you asked Ray at the last meeting, talking about the nuisance call situation for both fire and police. And Craig is gonna, I think Craig actually has written ordinances for other communities. So
Right.
he's gonna find them and we'll adjust them for Verona. It shouldn't be too difficult.
Like I said, it's not a major issue, but sometimes
Yeah.
these people get some calls and they just refuse to call somebody in to fix their alarm, and we're running.
Right.
You
No,
know.
I think a lot of communities have an ordinance
Oh, yeah.
like that, and apparently we don't, so we're gonna work on that.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, and like Dave said, the stop sign, once we get that all sorted out and do whatever the engineering study is required, make sure that all the PennDOT regulations are being followed, then we'll work on a stop sign ordinance for the stop signs. So unless anybody has comments about the pending short-term rental and the animal control ordinance at this time from council, I'll wait for public comment for any concerns about those, and think that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corbett. Thank you, Mr. President. Two issues. One was dealing with the police car. I guess the last meeting there was discussions about purchasing a Ford Explorer and whether council had specifically voted on this vehicle. What was discovered, we did vote on approve a budget item for purchasing a vehicle. We did authorize Jerry to look for a vehicle. We did not specifically vote on the purchase of that particular vehicle. So due to this oversight, I'm now making a motion to ratify the purchasing of the Ford Explorer with the budget allotted.
There's a motion on the floor to rectify the purchase, rectify the overlook of purchasing the police vehicle. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sarcevich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No
No.
noes?
I'm abstaining from this particular vote. I asked for some additional information on the email, and I don't feel like I've gotten the extra information. So I don't feel like I have enough information to vote yes or no. I don't have any problem with getting a police vehicle. That's not the issue. I just feel like I don't know what I'm voting on. So I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
I feel the same way on that. I'm pleased to get a police car, but I'd like more information on that.
We need to get an exact count on how much we're spending on this
Right.
car and the equipment that we're getting, and are we using equipment from the old car? Which a lot of it ain't going to part over, so to speak, like the light bar. I believe the light bar on the Crown Vic's 48 inches, but the roof on the Explorer is much wider because they made the car longer and they made it wider, which a lot of departments are complaining to Ford about, because nothing is exchangeable. Even the cage inside, they got to get adapters to make that cage work. So I think I agree that the board needs to know exactly what we're spending on everything.
There'll be an itemized list of what, but we have purchased it, we have ordered it.
I think the problem now is it's ordered and everything's done almost. We're almost at a point where I understand there's a discrepancy with some people. If the money was there, it was an oversight for whatever. What are we gonna do? Cancel the order?
You can. I mean, they'll get rid of it real fast and you can reorder another one. That's not a problem.
Well,
I'm
there's a
not
motion on
saying
the,
to
wait a second.
cancel, I'm not saying to
There's a
cancel.
motion on the floor. Take a roll call, Mr. Pennell.
Okay. President McCarthy,
Yes.
Dr. Carpenter,
Abstaining?
Mr. Forbeck,
Yes.
Ms. Luava,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
No,
You say no?
no, correct.
Couldn't hear him.
Okay. You said no.
Okay.
Ms. Provenza,
I'll abstain at this time.
Mr. Suchovich.
Yes.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses, 1 no, and 2 abstain.
Motion passed. Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
Okay, the other issue I wanted to bring up was cameras. I had discussions with the chief, the mayor, and police committee regarding cameras in the borough. This has been going on for the last few months. You know, it was way late with the COVID. The chief had reached out to the DA's Palace office and met with the security consulting firm that has done camera work with us. We did receive a proposal for 2 license recognizing high definition cameras and relocation of another one. The 2 cameras would be located on Allegheny River Boulevard at Center. The police committee discussed this, and we also decided that we really should have another camera, or revamp the camera that's on the borough building here, the one that faces the Railroad Avenue that we had issues with before. I think I remember your car was involved with that issue. So I did contact the firm and told them that we desire to have another camera to add up to this. They are in the process of revising their scope of work, and waiting to see that scope of work be submitted to us. I also contacted the DA's office, Zapala, and regarding funding. And she said, well, due to the COVID issues and lack of income of money coming in, they do not have money available like they had for these camera purchases. They will, however, accept a letter from us and a quote. And that's what I think what we ought to do is once we get this other quote, and we talk about it further at a council meeting to purchase these. We can do a parallel path of going with the DA's office. I understand there is money in the budget for cameras, and so once we get this,
Mr. Kenneth, yes, it is.
so once we get this,
I don't know off the top of my head, but we did budget for cameras.
Why are they getting recognition cameras? I thought we already had them on South End.
They're not licensed by Bergen.
they're not licensed plate.
I thought they were supposed to be licensed plate.
Originally, they were, because we were going to partner up with Oakmont, and they were going to do it so that Oakmont flaked out. They didn't end up doing it, so we ended up with just regular traffic.
And the cost for the camera wasn't really that much, but until we get the other scope of work and bid with that, I didn't want to share everything with them. Yeah. So that's going to be further discussion down the road. We also want to locate the cameras up at the pavilion, which we probably could handle separately. So for the pavilion, I talked to Matt a little bit too, and it would probably be good if we could just purchase that under that existing grant that we have, and all it would take would be a change order. And so I think what we need to get together with the chief and mayor, Jerry and Matt, and talk about what specifically we want up there, what the cost is, and then they can change the grant request for that. So with that, I think, so the 2 issues that I think that we could actually use the existing grant to purchase those cameras if they're going. So with one's down here, we'll wait for the scope of work. And once we get that, we will do a parallel path with my suggestion with the DA's office. at the same time.
I have been in touch with Mr. Zakala. As a matter of fact, he has been more in touch with me about the cameras. And he's planning to come out here to talk to us. And he's going to get grants for us. And I told him that our mayor would like to have body cameras, and he's going to work with us on that also. So I have been in touch with him way before you were even on the board, to tell you the truth. But I ran into some roadblocks, but I think we're done with roadblocks now. It's time to move on.
Yeah, we're going to get these cameras.
And he's coming out here, and we're having a meeting before anything's done. And he will have somebody come out and survey the whole town. If he doesn't do it, he will have somebody here to do it.
Yeah, he wants to put more than the cameras that I guess you and the chief have been talking about.
Well, he knows there's problems here, Dave. He's
Right.
very aware.
Right, he has told me that.
Yeah. So I'll let you know when he's coming. We're setting up an appointment. He said he's definitely coming out. He said, we've waited too long on this already.
So I have a question, Mike. So were you just talking about replacing or upgrading cameras that we already have here on ARB and Center and at the Borough Building?
Right now it would be putting 2 additional license recognizing cameras and taking the one existing one and putting it on site. I mentioned this, take the other one and putting it at Wildwood and Allegheny Road Board, so it covers the whole, covers the new intersection there. And the other one is the issue that we have with this camera on the Borough Building that couldn't recognize the auto record.
Right, it was all of the images were blurry.
Yes, so that would be it.
So this is as opposed to, and then you're talking about cameras up at the Cribs Pavilion.
Correct.
The new pavilion that
Yes.
they're going to build.
Yes.
So I'm understanding from what you're saying, Sylvia, that we're looking at a more comprehensive, cover the whole town and various different troubles. I mean, I think 3rd Street would love to have a camera somewhere because
Well, we've
they
had,
keep having problems up there with the cars being broken
yes,
into.
and I've had calls of people in this town that want cameras. They have specifically talked to me about it. And as head of communications, this is why they came to me. They said,
They
hey,
can
we're
put
in
the camera on
communications, we
us.
want cameras.
So I'm just.
Well, at the same time, I don't think some people would want to have cameras either. I mean, they think it's an invasion of privacy. I think it's something that should be discussed, not just willy-nilly placed
I
on
think
it.
there's a line.
Yeah.
You have to be careful not to cross
Yeah.
it.
Well, maybe it would be useful.
I think they're useful, but I think we need to have further discussion on that before we move forward.
Well, that's why he's
Yeah.
coming here.
That's why it might be good to be able to hear from either Mr. Zappallo or his representative.
I would say we
Maybe
should
at a
get
workshop
together
or
and talk
something.
about this, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I think we could use more cameras than just one at the Borough Building and a couple at the 2 major intersections.
Absolutely, I agree.
I'm not doubting that. I just think this is just initially what we're doing.
I have a question for Mike, if anyone can hear me.
Consolidate our efforts.
Anything else?
That's all.
Dave has a question. We gotta do this. What's your question, Dave? Let's see if I can read it.
I'm just wondering if, I don't know if Mike's gotten this far yet, but I'm wondering if they're going to look at, I don't know if we have a video management system in the Borough Building for the existing cameras, or if that'll be something that'll be looked at for the new cameras.
So I can answer that. He asked, is there a video management system in the Borough Building with the current cameras? There is. In fact, I think there's a couple for the different waves of cameras that we've gotten. The cameras that we're looking at now will work with the most recent video management system that we have, and that's the goal, to keep building on that system, because it's the most robust and easiest to work with for the police. So we do have that system built here, and these cameras that they're looking at will just add on to the existing system.
Okay, so the existing system is up to date and adequate.
Hold on, Dave and.
Say that again, Dave.
So you're saying, Jerry, that the existing video management system is up to date and adequate, right?
Yes, the latest system that we have is whenever we put in the cameras at Center and by McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and that is more than adequate. These new cameras will just add on to that video management system that works really well.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, Mike, it's just Dave was talking.
Okay, that's fine.
Here.
Great, thanks. I don't need to say anything else.
Anything else, Mr. Scorback?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Selchevich.
We have nothing at this time.
Ms. Lyle.
Lots of things at this time. I don't know if anybody had a chance to go walk down Riverbank to see the pickleball courts.
They look really very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
They had their donor appreciation day on Saturday. I stopped down there around noon. And at that time too, they had, maybe there was maybe a clinic for anybody who wanted to learn how to play. So they will be running them periodically. They're also looking to have a tournament on October 31st, which is Saturday, between 9 and 2 p.m. I'm sorry. They were interested in possibly having a food truck down there for that event. It was like where to have it, because the road's kind of narrow, so we were thinking if they do have a food truck, they're not for sure on this yet. It's the time frame. If you can get somebody for an hour or two, that's the idea, not the whole time. Maybe putting it right in front of the salt shed property there that'll be off the road and wouldn't be too much of a hazard.
They won't be working Saturday anyway.
Well, that's the question.
I was gonna suggest.
Everybody can get their house from 10, right? Why can't we block that street off?
Better off putting it right there.
It's off the
It's
road.
off the street.
There's a space between where the fenced-in salt shed area is and where the garage is. That's just sort of an empty space right next door to the salt shed. Can you use that?
It's right, anywhere in that section.
Right there.
Yeah.
So
It could be
if that's agreeable, then that would probably be the safest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it a quick.
And a few other things that they're looking, they raised, well over the amount of 9,400. So with the monies they have extra, they're looking into putting some benches on the outside of the court for spectators or for people waiting to play. Also, they're looking to put up some shade kind of awning type things, because I guess at one point in the evening, the sun's like coming right down on them and it's really hard for them to see, plus it's hot in the summertime. And down the road, looking into maybe putting like some type of little pavilion there as well. But that's just ideas that they have for right now. So that's something that we can discuss later and see down the road for the pickleball court there. This Saturday, the Parks and Rec Committee, they are having a fall hike at Beechwood Farms. It's out in Fox Chapel there off of Dorseyville Road. If anybody's interested, it's at 10 a.m. on the Parks and Rec Facebook page. You can register there. I know there's a limited amount of people that they're having that can attend, but if you're interested, you can go on the Facebook page and let them know if you're interested or not, if you would like to attend. Also on the 16th, they're going to have the Parks and Rec also going to have of October. They're going to have another drive-in movie featuring Hocus Pocus. So it's a good fun one for Halloween. Hopefully the weather cooperates. So that would be like at 6:30. So we would, at that time, I can remind everybody again, we'll need the streets blocked off for that event as well. Also, okay, thank you. October 28th is when I committed to Shirley Davis for the community dinner. I will get a spreadsheet out for council. I still need to go over, Shirley and I are going to work together hopefully this week or next to get a list of what needs to be donated by us. We're looking for macaroni and cheese dinner and some pudding and a lot of good things that we can do. So I'll get that all out, and if anybody's able to help with that event too. It'll be a grab and go type of thing, is what they've been doing all year. And then tomorrow is actually the community dinner at the Methodist Church on Center Avenue. And it's a really nice thing for anybody, just stop by, how many dinners do you need or how many bags you need, and then you can go on your way.
Do you know what the menu is for tomorrow?
I do not. I do not. Yeah.
Pretty much sandwiches, Nancy. They're not cooking right now, you know, because I've been down.
Yeah, certain things like that. October 6th is the next rec board meeting at 7 o'clock. And I believe that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Newsletters were not early this month. I certainly hope everybody enjoyed them. And I extend many thanks to the residents and to the business owners for contributing wonderful articles and for the support that the businesses are giving us with their ads. We greatly appreciate it and we thank you very much. Also, we are now collecting ads and articles for the October, November, December issue of the newsletter. The articles can be sent to Donald Ward, and his email address is coronanewsroom@gmail.com. And I can be reached at 412-828-9542, and that would be for the ads. Farmers Market, please don't forget every Thursday we have Farmers Market from 2 to 7 p.m. And if you have any of your coupons left for Farmers Market, you'll need to use them up because they will not be good after this season. And also, many thanks to Stephanie for handling the Farmers Market. You do a great job and you're appreciated, Stephanie. Thank you. Historical Society, all meetings are still canceled until further notice. And if you'd like to check on any more information, you can do so at veronahistory.org, and there may be information on there for you. Community dinner, as Janet already said, it's tomorrow evening from 4:30 to 6:30. And they've got quite a good setup, like Janet said, just drive your car up and pick up the food and you can keep going. You don't even have to get out of your car. And I thank Shirley and her helpers. You girls do a great job and you're really appreciated. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful thing you do for the community. And Shirley mentioned that if anybody would like to donate a $5 or a $10 gift card, they can always use it, and it would be greatly appreciated. Chamber of Commerce, I did talk to Kevin today. There will be a meeting Tuesday, October 20th, and it will be here at the Pavilion, and we don't have a time yet, but time will be announced soon.
At the Pavilion?
Yes, we're having it at the Pavilion.
Outside?
Yes, right down here in Railroad Park. And of course, Kevin said no Halloween parade this year because of COVID. And the trick or treat falls right on, or excuse me, Halloween will be that same day, 31st. So trick or treat's going to be from 6 to 8. And that's on Saturday the 31st. And Kevin also told me that he had talked to the president of the Oakmont Chamber. They're doing absolutely no light up nights. Stores will be open a little bit longer, but that's about it. And let's see what else I have here. Oh, ALOM sent me some information, and they said if I would be kind enough to read this to our people. This is from Allegheny League of Municipalities. With the support of Bats Callan, ALOM is pleased to announce the formation of the ALOM Public Partners Program, and that's beginning in January of 2021. This service to municipalities and authorities will provide high-quality experienced talent in an efficient and affordable manner to ensure business continuity and sustainability during staff transitions, and when municipalities seek consulting services on special projects or initiatives. In addition, ALOM will be able to assist municipalities with job searches and recruitment efforts to ensure local governments are matched with a talented pool of candidates for key staff positions. And this came from ALOM. There will be more information on this, and as I get it, I'll be glad to share it with you. And just a few last minute things. I did attend a meeting last night it's geared to the police and to council. And they had a special guest there. And he said there's a CARES program which would benefit your fire department, Ray. And Jerry, maybe you can look into it. He said there's definitely money in it for our fire departments. This is a CARES Act program.
We already did it.
So you've already checked that, that maybe we can get some money for Ray and his fire
We
department.
got our check already.
Did you? Wonderful. Okay. Well, I didn't know, so I wanted to share.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. In closing, just a couple other things. I'd like to extend many thanks to Jessica and the Verona members of our community group and to all the people that attended our little mini Verona Community Day. And it was held on Saturday, September 12th, and it was a fun-filled family day. Thank you, Jessica. You and the committee did a very nice job. Also, many, many thanks to all the people that supported the Verona Garden Club fundraiser. That was great. Our president, Angela Capinti, and our members all say thank you so very much to everybody that came and just supported us tremendously. We got rid of all the plants we had, they all sold. And that was a big help because that was our only fundraiser for the garden club. And I'll close with a huge thank you to each one of our Public Works Department men. You have done an outstanding job taking care of our baskets. They're beautiful. Thank you for watering them. Thank you for taking care of them. And I have had so many compliments on those flowers that I cannot tell you. They are absolutely beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's it. I'm through.
Okay. Are there any public comments?
What do we have a call report? Call me?
I don't think COG or any of those.
Yeah,
Somebody already gave the ALOM report.
Yeah.
hold on. I got something real quick.
All right, Dave has something. Dave, I'm gonna switch it over so that the public can speak anyway. So you can do that before the public speaks. Hold on, I gotta, oh, yeah, I don't have to go. Hold on.
Dave?
Yeah, are you good? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we did have a COG meeting last week. It was fairly short, but we did talk about the CDBG projects. I think Matt gave an update, but there's the sanitary sewer lining project on First Street that is going forward. Jet Jack was the contractor that won that, and Matt has submitted our the four applications for the next CDBG grant cycle. And we have a bunch in there, and there's you know, I think they look pretty good looking at what the other municipalities are submitting, but we have a culvert repair in Wildwood, Verona, we have demolitions, alley reconstruction, and Center Avenue storm sewer extension, which Matt talked about. But those are all going forward with the COGS CDBG application. The only thing I just want to say real quick, I regarding the police car, I feel like the mayor is owed an apology, because at the last meeting there were several people that were adamant that we voted on this previously, and I feel like it was kind of embarrassing to the mayor and to council, and as Mike stated, that we did not take that vote. And I know we talked about the police car at previous meetings, but I just would like to say that, you know, that was an embarrassment, and I think the mayor deserves an apology. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Okay, public comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
All right, first is Dan Showalter. Dan,
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dan Showalter, 440 North Avenue. I had a question. If a property is sold in the borough and that particular property is a single-family dwelling and the new owner wants to chop it up into apartments, who exactly makes that decision in the borough?
It would have to go to a zoning board meeting, and Mark Stanton would handle that, and it would go to zoning.
Okay, because it has come to my attention. In fact, my neighbor across the way at 443, her house was sold very recently, and the new owner has stated an intent to chop the house into apartments. Just speaking as an individual resident, I would think the borough is trying to move away from people taking houses and chopping them up into apartments. I think we would want to attract more families with kids into the neighborhood, not the opposite. And more importantly, also, every time something like that happens in the borough, the surrounding neighbors take a hit to their property. My house would be worth less if the house across the way from me suddenly becomes a multi-apartment complex as opposed to a single-family dwelling. So I would just like to bring that to the council's attention that there are people.
So
That there
Dan,
are people.
I would suggest that you call the borough building tomorrow and talk to Mark Stanton. Make sure that it's on his radar. They have to apply to do that through Mark, and it would go in front of the zoning hearing board. Then I would suggest if it goes in front of the zoning hearing board that you come to the hearing and you express your concern. The zoning hearing board makes their own decisions. Council really doesn't have any say-so over what the zoning hearing board says. But zoning hearing board should absolutely hear you, and I agree with you. So.
Okay, and how could I get the information on the next zoning meeting?
So it has to be advertised when that hearing would be. So it would be when the zoning hearing board is going to hear that, and then we would advertise that. We'd put it on Facebook and let everybody know. But it's a process, and if they haven't reached out to Mark yet, then it's probably a month or more away before that would happen.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Okay. Next would be Eric Spar. Go ahead, Eric. You're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hey, I just want to say the pickleball courts were fantastic. Please state your address. Yeah, they really add a lot to the neighborhood. The marina is fantastic as well. I had my brother from Annapolis. We played a pickleball match, and he made a lot of great comments. He just got done playing pickleball with the mayor of Annapolis, actually. So he came up here, and I said, I'm going to get some paddles for Dave, Mayor Dave. But he was also impressed with the solar lights at the park and the public docks as well. So it's nice to have visitors' outside opinions. I also want to comment on the animal ordinance. I support the idea of allowing bunnies and rabbits, and I think that would be not a problem for like other residents as far as like nuisances and so forth. And personally, I would support ducks. I didn't know that they weren't allowed, actually. I only thought chickens were not allowed, and I had 2 ducks in my garden. And I got nothing but positive feedback from dozens of people as they would pass by my yard. Some people actually made regular routes to visit them every day and look at them. And as far as I'm aware of, they weren't a nuisance to anybody in my neighborhood. They were enclosed in a fence, very far away from anybody's home, proper distancing. And I just want to support that we amend the ordinance to allow ducks and rabbits.
Hey, Eric, for the record, can you state your address, please?
209 Penn Street.
Thank you. All right.
Oh, and Sylvia, the carrot cake smoothie was delicious.
Oh, good. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
All right. Next would be Jessica Veron. Jessica, go ahead.
Hello. Y'all can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So first, I guess I have 2 comments.
What's your address, Jessica?
722 Bruno Street. Thank you. I I'm a little disappointed to see, I mean, it's great that you're all together, I guess, again, most of you, but there's a couple people in the room that are not wearing a mask. And I feel like that's setting a pretty poor example to the health of our community. It's also violating the Pennsylvania Department of Health masking order. So I just feel like you're all leaders in our community, and I would expect that there would be leadership shown here to the community in wearing a mask. And just for the respect and concern of your fellow councilmen and others in the room there, you know, a lot of you are in a high risk group. I'm sorry, I work in public health, so I have to think about this every single day. So really what I wanted to say tonight was, as many of you know, as a service to the community through the Verona Community Group, I send out emails to remind residents of council meetings. In addition, I put the council agendas on our own Verona Community Group website. And I've come to the council in the previous council before this one many times in the past, asking for this simple request that I feel like has been unresolved for maybe close to 2 years. I'm a little disappointed that month after month you hold public meetings, but you don't make any attempt to share the agenda or any meeting minutes from previous meetings with the residents of the town that you're representing. I've said this before, but I'm here again tonight to say it again. You should not have to be married to a borough councilman to get an agenda to the borough meetings. Before my husband was elected council, because that's now how I get the meeting agenda, I would email the borough manager to get it, and sometimes I was able to get it in time and sometimes not, to share it out with the community, but I was always the one asking for this. There's never once been a proactive approach by the borough or the borough manager to share this information with the community. And I feel like the resolution is actually pretty simple. Just post it up on the borough website, you know, put it out in your Facebook. I know you don't have the email group, and I'm happy to send that out, but at least if you can just post it up on the borough website when it's available. You know, I know that is available. We went through a long process to redo the website. I'm just a little baffled as to why that information isn't shared there. Meeting minutes are also missing from the borough site. If I want to obtain a copy of those, I kind of need to go through a pretty tedious task of filling out a right to know request with Marcia, and then they're sent to me. And I had been trying to keep up with that and putting them up on the VCG site, but frankly, I'm a little tapped out with, you know, other things in life that have just become more demanding. So we now don't have that information on our website. I just don't think that the Verona Community Group site should be the holding place for this information. I kind of put it there as an effort to, you know, help with transparency while your website was down, but I think the time has come for the borough to take this task back. Just as an example, before last month's council meeting, a resident emailed the VCG account asking if there was an agenda or any Zoom information. I note that the Zoom information is often shared like 1 hour before the meeting, so it's tough for residents to prepare. I was on vacation last month, and I was in a location without any Wi-Fi. Yet I tethered my laptop to my phone. I got a copy of the agenda from my husband. I logged on to the VCG site. I uploaded the agenda, and then I drafted an email message and sent it out to the community. I did this as a private citizen while I was on my vacation. However, I believe that we are paying someone in the borough to do this service, and it's time that we step up as a borough and make sure that that information is available to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Laura Jacko. Go ahead, Laura.
All right, hi. Can everyone hear me? Sorry, I just had a little bit of a lag there. 437 North Avenue. Just listening to, you know, everything that's been transpiring tonight, I wrote down some comments on some suggestions or thoughts that I had. Firstly, I know we were discussing Halloween. I think, you know, sort of like how we ask people to mask for the farmers market every week, I think that the borough should put out some sort of an announcement as to, you know, like what the CDC guidelines are for a safe Halloween. I was looking it up as you guys were talking, and apparently it is considered a high risk and not suggested that people do the traditional door-to-door trick-or-treating. However, it's more of a medium risk if people have, you know, grab-and-go bags and people are masked. I think if that was encouraged by our leadership, that would do, you know, have a long way towards keeping people a lot safer during this holiday. I mean, maybe we don't care because it's just pointed out, I guess I didn't realize, but some people aren't wearing masks, which is kind of horrifying to me. My husband was actually exposed to coronavirus at work just this past week, and thank God he was wearing a mask, and the person who was carrying it was wearing a mask, and he did not get infected. But it took 5 days out of our life waiting for a test. So I think we as a community should be just letting people know what is expected and what are safe ways to celebrate. And it is my favorite holiday, so definitely want to keep people safe, but still have them being able to enjoy it. I was really concerned to hear about county hauling and the recycling issue. That's pretty terrifying. And I would be really interested to know if that's some sort of and maybe I'm getting it wrong, but like theft of service, or that has to clearly be some sort of a breach of their contract with us if they're not actually recycling properly the way that they're supposed to be. I know we've had a lot of issues with them in the past, and to me this would be beyond the pale straw that broke the camel's back for getting rid of them. That's my opinion, but I was pretty shocked to hear that. Echoing Dan Showalter's comment about the house in 443 North, that's actually come up before in the borough meetings, because as we know, there's already a parking issue on North Avenue. And, I don't want to see that exacerbated. I don't want to see my housing values go down because some landlord a couple of houses up from me decided he wanted to make more money and chop up a house into apartments. I've even been told that the suggestion was maybe low income housing, which from my understanding, the landlord then wouldn't have to abide by certain regulations, thereby again bringing the property values down around the home. As somebody who owns a home 2 doors down from that, that's very, very concerning to me as well. And I think that it was actually addressed before, because I think Mark Stanton actually went out to that property and said that it was not fit to be chopped up into apartments. So I would like that to be stood by and have the council kind of consider looking into exactly, what's going on here with these properties being sold in Verona with the intent of, having multiple family units in them. And I also wanted to support Councilman Matlin's comments on obtaining blighted properties and doing something good with them. I'm happy to help if I can. Obviously we're looking into doing good things like gardens or things like that on there, on some of those properties. If there's any other ideas that people have, I'd be happy to help. I think that sounds like great programs to look into. Good job, Dave. And then echoing somebody else's comments on the animal control ordinance, I also didn't realize small poultry and rabbits weren't allowed here. My husband grew up with a pet rabbit. I grew up with a pet rabbit. I know Penn Hills and Oakmont both allow chickens. I always thought it'd be great to have like ducks or quail. I feel like that's very common. And weirdly enough, that big electronic billboard over the summer, I saw it advertising chickens for rent. Like, why were we advertising something in our community that our community couldn't even do? Like this, it's a pretty popular thing. And I think that, if we're looking at the animal control ordinances, looking at allowing some of these more popular small pets would be not out of order, especially considering that the places surrounding us all allow them. Those were kind of all my thoughts. They were on a lot of different things, but thank you for listening.
Thanks, Laura. All right, next will be Vince Floda. Go ahead, Vince. Wait, hold on. You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Vince.
Vince Floda, 323 Penn Street. I have two things. First is I want to thank council and the street crew for fixing the loose basketball hoop down at Riverbank Park. It was making a horrible noise for about 2 months, and it seems to be tight now. I do think that it is a little crooked still and might need to have a level thrown on it just to check so it doesn't start torquing really out of level. If you guys could look into that, that would be great. And my second comment is last council meeting and this council meeting, there's been a lot of talk about this police car and a couple heated discussions And for some people that might not have been following all these council meetings, I can't get to every council meeting, but I just want to make it clear so I know, we ordered a whole police car before council voted on it. Is that correct?
Police car was voted to be in the budget last year. So
I know, but that's not my question. My question is, did we order a police car before council voted on what type and kind of police car to get?
The police committee decided on the type of car and what to order, and it was ordered.
Before or after the vote? That's my question.
There was no vote until
Okay.
tonight.
I just wanted to make that so I knew it was crystal clear, because a lot of people might not know the actual technicalities of it, because to me it just seems like now we're being forced to buy a police car that we actually didn't discuss and actually have a full vote on before it was ordered. And I mean, that's all I have to say. I just want the rest of Verona and the residents to know how that went down. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Next is Kat Hoge. Kat, go ahead.
She's muted.
You're muted, Kat.
Can you unmute her, Jerry?
Yeah. Trying. Hello, Kat?
There.
Kat, are you there? Okay, we lost her. Next is Kimberly Roller. Kimberly, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Kimberly Roller, 853 First Street in Verona. I really just wanted to come on here and thank Mr. Matlin for the support of the community garden, and then thank the rest of you as well. I think that that is going to be an amazing asset to the community as we work towards beautification and improvement of our beautiful little borough, and to be able to hopefully have it so that the children at Verner Elementary can enjoy it as well. I think that that is an excellent decision, and I applaud all of you for doing it. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Next is Jennifer Marasco. Jennifer? Yep.
Hi, this is Jen Marasco-Coon, 455 North Avenue. I just have a few points. I want to start off positive, thanking the community for the support of our mini community day and scavenger hunt. It was a fabulous day. Mother Nature was on our side. It was conducted very safely by the vendors and all the participants. And I'm also happy to hear about the support for the community garden. I think that would be a wonderful addition to Verona. And I love the idea of it teaming up with the elementary school. So that's fabulous. I do agree about the borough taking responsibility for publicly posting their own agendas and their minutes. I'm a part of the Verona Community Group Board, and I do know that we post it, but not everyone knows about the Verona Community Group, and they shouldn't rely on us to post the borough's information for their meetings. So I think that should be properly taken care of through the borough. I mean, if you can post the Zoom information, I don't see why you can't also post the agenda at the same time. I am also disappointed to see that community members that representing us at the borough meeting currently at the borough building are not masked, some of them. There's a lot of discrepancy about what masks should or shouldn't be worn, where and when, but I mean, there's clear guidelines, inside spaces and within 6 feet of individuals that the masks protect, everyone. So as role models for the community, I was disappointed to see some of you not wearing the mask. Painting lines. Oh my gosh, it has been almost 2 years and we still haven't got lines painted on North. And I have listened to the borough meetings the last few months where there's actually been action taken where, you know, paint has been put on the corner of North and First to trial it over the winter. But I'm just really disappointed that when this was approved 2 years ago and we were given excuses that they didn't have enough people, then they got the people and then, you know, it just wasn't done. Now the excuse is, well, we don't know what paint, you know, will hold up, so we'll trial this out over the winter. Well, you only trialed one type of paint. If we get to spring and that paint is not holding up, then do I have to wait another like 6 to 8 months to see action done for these parking lines? Because I mean, this literally has almost gone to blows on my street multiple times. I saw 2 grown men that I had to intervene so they wouldn't punch each other over parking. And now another house on my street might become an apartment complex for individuals so they can move in 3 or 4 more cars. There is not enough parking on my street for the houses and the residents. So I really wish the painting line would be revisited, that maybe you do other types of paint than the one you did up here so that we can expedite this process so that the cops aren't called again because of parking issues. This has been such a tense time with the pandemic, and the painting lines is a major issue. And then lastly, the animal control. I didn't know that certain types of animals weren't allowed either. Rabbits, ducks, and chickens. I mean, if you have certain parameters as to how they are kept, I don't see why they can't be, you know, safely kept in our town. So I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you so much for all you do, and have a good night.
Thank you. Next would be Rhea Homa.
Hi, thank you.
Rhea.
Hi, thank you. This is Rhea Homa, 742 Brunot Street. Hi, I wanted to thank you for your decision to support a community garden in Verona. I think it's an invaluable project that can open up a lot of wonderful opportunities for our community, so thank you for that. I also wanted to voice support for keeping ducks and chickens within the borough, as Eric Spar and others have noted. I think that this can be done responsibly within the borough. Also, I wanted to let council know that I had difficulty finding a usable link for this evening's meeting. I, of course, visited the borough's website first, which is where it should be, but I believe this link was from a previous meeting because it said the webinar had expired. So that was not usable for me. Thankfully, the link on the borough Facebook page was working. I also wanted to share my disappointment that I was unable to find minutes from a previous meeting that I was unable to attend on the borough's website. I might have missed them in a communication from the community group, but that's simply something that should be easily accessible as a resident without a song and a dance. And it should be taken care of by the borough, not a random volunteer in the community. Likewise, I could not find the agenda for this evening's meeting and again had to rely on the Verona Community Group to find and disseminate this information. So I understand that these are common occurrences, and to that, it's all the more tiresome and disappointing. Also, I'd like to publicly share gratitude to Jessica Verone for going above and beyond by sharing these points of information. I hope that soon this is no longer necessary. Thank you.
All right, and Kat Hoge has her hand up again, and then that's it.
Okay.
Can you hear
Kat,
me
are
now?
you there?
Can you hear
Yep.
me? Awesome.
Yep.
Sorry about that before. So I will make this quick because I know you guys are tired and ready to turn in for the evening. My name is Kathleen
Can you-
Hoge. I live at 443 North Avenue. Is that what you were going to ask?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. So I actually live across the street from Trish, as well as 2 doors up from Laura Jacko. I am living in the house that they are speaking of with the apartments, as well as Jen. I unfortunately have more or less tried to look at the agendas in months past, not getting them until the day before. So I do agree with others speaking. That's a little frustrating because I have wanted to speak up about this, not just for my house or the street, but for the community as a whole. And when I say community as a whole, that's because that's what Verona is. I know it's Verona Borough, it's a town, but I think in past years, and thank you to the board members and all the residents of Verona, it has now become a community. And it hasn't always been like that. I feel like I have lived in this area since 1996, I believe, and I have seen a huge change in Verona, and I think that's all because of all of you. With that said, I basically just wanted to let you know that this house that I have lived in since 2012 have rented as a multi-generational. I say that because it is, or once back in the 80s, was apartments broken up into 3 separate apartments. Was vacant for many, many years until we moved in 2012 and rented the house as a whole. My dad, who is 72 years old, lives on the 1st floor, and my children and I live on the other 2 floors. We have discussed with the owner about buying it on many, many occasions, but he kind of just didn't show his face ever, to be honest with you. We have maintained the entire property for the last 8 years, minus the exterior painting. It's not my house, so that was not my job to do. But 2 months ago, he brought an investor to my house out of nowhere, claimed that the investor made an offer, and in that same day, I made the same exact offer, and he declined my offer and accepted his. This investor is talking about making this house into apartments, originally 3, until we tried to convince him he could not do that. Talking to Mark Stanton, as well as Keith down there, and the secretary in the borough building know all too well about the issue going on with this house. They also spoke about breaking it or making it into Section 8, which I kind of laughed in their face, not so much for them, but for my neighbors, because this will bring their property values down. As you all know, the parking has been a huge issue. I have recently had to get cameras on my house because my house or my car has been keyed and my back window has been broken, tires flat, and I have 1 car on the street. So I'm not worried for myself and this issue with my house and moving out. And I do call it my house because we've invested so much time and energy into it. But for the neighbors and for the community on the street, the block party, the yard sales, it's become like a family. So it kind of disheartens me that this is going on, but I do know that there's a domino effect when that happens. So if investors coming in and breaking it into apartments, or, you know, flipping the house, then the next house up the street, which I know is in foreclosure, that will also try to happen too. And I just see it as a big headache for the borough in general. Thank you, Dave, about the information about the blighted properties. We are looking at properties in Verona because we do want to stay in the borough and possibly build, which would help with some of those vacant or abandoned properties. So if any of the borough has or the board has any information that they could pass along that maybe is not available to the public, we would greatly appreciate that information. As I said, we'd like to stay in the borough and can continue in the community. That's it. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Provenza, second by Mr. Suchovich. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any noes? No noes. Meeting's adjourned.